Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor tutorials. We do a new one every single week, and this week we are doing metallic sunrise. Whoa. Now, I just want to say that because we're using metallic paints, this is a scanned image of the original painting, so it looks different than how yours is going to look. This appears really dark. Yours probably won't be as dark. You know what I mean?
It'll be metallic.
But it will be metallic-y. It will be shiny. Ooh. Okay, and that's because in the month of March, we got these wonderful metallic paints. We teamed up with Art Philosophy, and
those trays are legit.
These trays are so great. Also, some of you might ask what this is. Here, it's for holding when you're out and about.
Yeah.
You loop your finger.
Other side. There you go.
You loop your finger in the hole, and that way, if you're like, it's called plein air painting, when you're like out in the field painting, it's hooked on.
When you want to impress people you don't know, take it to Starbucks and just plein air paint.
And just plein air paint right there. Or maybe it goes on your keychain and you're like, that won't work.
I thought it was a kickstand.
It could be that too, I think. Let's see.
No.
Nope.
No, not at all.
Nope, you're wrong. Okay, so we have 6 colors that came in this palette, but we are using 4 colors for this project. We have blue, and just so you know, these paints take a while to like moisture, I don't know.
To increase their relative humidity.
So what I do when I start is, if you have a spray bottle, you can spray your paints. This is good for any kind of cake pans like this, or I'll just go in and just put water on the top of them. And then after I put water on the top of them, I'll start to work the water into them to rehydrate them. Okay, so this is blue here, and it's like a turquoisey blue. So it's kind of a blue, it's kind of, I guess it would be more like a sea green.
Wait, you're on your practice sheet, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This is my practice sheet.
Just making sure.
We are also using this really pretty purple color. And if it takes you a second to work the water into these paints, you have to work them a little bit more because they are metallic. That's just the nature of them, and that's okay. So we have this purple. And then we have this pink. And then we have gold, which is such a good color, like that. Now, in the other projects in our subscription box, we gave you black paper because metallic paints actually show up really good on black paper, but I wanted to do a project with white paper in there to show you guys that like they're still really cool. They come out more pastel-y than they do on black paper, but they're still metallic-y and you can still do some really fun things with them. So I just wanted to show that in this project. Okay, now to do this, we are going to do this in 5 steps. So first step, we're going to kind of define where the sun is and start to put in our skyline. Step number 2, we're going to put in our water. Step number 3, we're going to do our clouds. Step number 4, we're going to finish off the sky, kind of like this top part of the sky, and kind of blend it in the rest of the sky. Step number 5, we'll do water reflections.
Step 6, party.
Step 6, party, for sure. We're using a round 6 and a round 2 Princeton Heritage Series brush. These are our go-to brushes. They're our friends. I love them. And this is just a great brand. Princeton makes great brushes. And again, I just want to remind you that this scanned image looks really grainy and dark than what you are going to get with your painting. And you'll see that as I'm painting. Okay, let's start with our oath. So if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
Promise to be kind to myself.
And I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you. And I like to start that way because sometimes we get so caught up in being the best that we forget the purpose, which is the joy of creating and learning something.
If you're here for hate painting, skip the oath. I don't want to have fun. I just want to paint and be mad about it.
I want to be miserable.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and skip the oath. Or do it with your left hand.
Okay, so we're going to go over a couple warm-ups today. The first one that we are going to do is a lesson on blending and values. So what I like to do and how I like to paint in general is I pick up a color and I pick up a lot of that color. So I start with a darker value, like so. And then I just rinse my brush and I keep going. And this is how I spread color. This is how I fill up space. And at the same time, I'm doing a value change here. So this is our dark value, this is our medium value, and this is our light value. And so that's how I prefer to paint things. And you'll see, like when I do our water, when I do clouds in the sky, I usually always start with a lot of paint and then just dip my paintbrush in the water and just use the color that I already laid down to fill in the space. If you're coming from acrylic or oil painting, using water is going to not come naturally to you. I need you to think of water not as a way to solely rinse your brush, but you have to look at water as if it's part of the paint itself. So just remember to grab some water. It's really important to use water.
Don't drink your paint water.
And do not drink your paint water. Although I'm pretty sure these are non-toxic.
Don't dip your paint water brush into your coffee.
For sure I've done that. For sure I've drank in my paint water.
Oh yeah.
For sure I've dipped my paintbrush in a cup of milk and then like drank it anyway.
I put pomade on my toothbrush the other day and put it in my mouth. So.
Okay, now the last thing that we're going to go over is a technique called wet on dry. So basically when you lay down a wash, which is what we just did here, these are all washes. Washes are when you're doing paint and water simultaneously. Once that dries, you can paint on top of it. So if you want something to stay sharp and detailed, then you'll want to use the wet on dry technique. So this is dry, and let's say I want to do like some detail lines on it. Well, I can just go straight on it and paint over it, okay?
So these little tins, you've used them in the past and they're awesome.
Yeah.
And you may have said it, I'm not sure, but do you want to let them dry out before you shut them?
You don't have to. I don't.
They'll dry out fine with it shut? It won't like mold or something?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's a great question. I wish I knew an answer to that. But what I tend to do is I tend to leave them, how do I say this? If I'm moving my travel palette or this tin, then I will let it dry before I close it up and move it, just because then the paint can get whatever, like mixed up.
I like your hand motion.
This.
Yeah, that's exactly what the paint's doing.
Also, I want to show you guys that I mix, you can use these areas for mixing, or sometimes I'll mix right on the palettes like this and go back and forth. And then what happens is then you have a mixed color. And I didn't use cake pans for a long time because I didn't know how to get past that, where I'm like, well, I just mix and muddy my colors up. Like, what do I do? Let me show you, because it's the easiest solution in the world. When you're coming at this and you have a color that's dirty, just drop water in it, grab a paper towel or a cloth, and pick up that first layer, and it's clean underneath.
Or use your tongue. You know, they're non-toxic.
Don't do that. So whenever your cakes start to get messy, just kind of rinse the top layer and then pick it up, and then they're clean, fresh.
Impressive.
I know. I'm like, wow, it took me years to figure that out. Okay, it's fine. It's fine, I'm fine. The last thing that I wanted to say, so we just did wet on dry. To do wet on wet, it's the same thing, except you just don't let it dry in between. So like, I'll do a wash here. And then let's say I want to drop in some color and let that disperse. I'll just drop it right in. So when we're doing like cloud textures that are kind of like loose, and because you know sometimes clouds don't have super hard edges, they're like wispy and they kind of blend out. This technique, the wet on wet, is what you're going to want to use because it will just blend out. If you want the clouds to have really hard edges and be really defined in a strong form, you are going to use the wet on dry. Okay. Now, also, this is the back of a warm-up sheet. You guys can use the front and back. The more textured side is the side you guys want to actually paint on, but for warm-ups and just like practice sheets, use both sides, you know what I mean?
How many times would you say you accidentally painted on the wrong side of a watercolor sheet?
So many times.
Hundreds of millions.
This paper doesn't make a huge difference if you paint on the back of it, but some other paper, it does make a huge difference. So Canson, not a huge deal. But usually with watercolor, if it's cold pressed paper, you're going to want to paint on the side that has more texture or tooth to it. All right, let's start painting. If you want clean edges on this painting, you can tape it down, and then that way you'll have a nice clean white edge.
Do that before you paint.
Do that before you paint. In the Lighthouse tutorial, I forgot to tell you that to the very end, and I'm really sorry. But, or when I painted this, I actually had a rough edge on it. I did not tape it down, and you can see it has an uneven edge over here. I'm cool with that too. It just depends on what you like. It's just what you want to do. Okay, so we are going to start with putting in our sun and our skyline. If it's helpful for you to lightly sketch something before you put it in, just so you know where it goes, you can do that. Just make sure you keep it nice and light. If you have a watercolor pencil, I would suggest using that because in that way those lines disappear. So here's my water edge. Now you do not want to do your horizon line, which is what this is called, right in the middle of your paper. Don't do that. Compositionally, it's not good. So you either want to do it in the top third or the bottom third. I did mine more in the bottom third, but again, you guys can choose. And I'm just going to put a little circle here. Again, you don't want to do it directly in the center, so I did mine slightly to the right.
And don't forget to add in your 8 inches per mile curvature of the earth.
Yeah, do that math.
That's true.
What?
The 8 inches per mile is the number. Isn't that cool?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
When you look a mile away, the earth has curved 8 inches. When you look 2 miles, the earth has curved 16 inches.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Unless you're a flat earther, and then it hasn't.
Okay.
What?
Now I'm thinking like, crap, do I have to like...
No. I'm just...
You're just...
Now you're making me feel awkward.
You're just giving me great information, and I'm sorry that I don't know what to do with that in this painting, but that's a fun fact. So that is a fun fact, ladies and gentlemen.
I will look pretty and be silent.
No, I like your fun facts. I like you. This is Michael.
Hi.
He is also my husband.
I've got great earth rotation around facts. I don't know.
That's also why I was a little bit more like, what, with you? Because he's my husband and we're married, and so I could do that.
So you're telling me you would have been nice to Keenan?
No, Keenan, I don't even pay that guy. Just kidding.
He just lives upstairs, I think.
Just kidding. Okay, focus. We're going to paint now. So I'm going to start with putting in my sun. So I'm going to grab gold because it's like the sunrise. And usually when the sun is rising or setting, there's those hints of peach or pink and gold. So I'm gonna leave my sun white and just do gold around it. I have a lot of color. And then I dip my brush and I'm just going to spread out this color with long horizontal brush strokes. Now, I'm not going to fill in the entire thing, especially because I want to leave space for purple clouds. Watercolor is transparent, so you see the layers. So try and leave space for where you think your clouds are going to go roughly. Now, because this is metallic paint, it is grainy. Can you guys see how it's starting to separate? That is the nature of this paint. It is okay. It's what it's supposed to do. So just embrace it. And it's because it's these little metallic pieces.
Glitter flakes.
Glitter flakes.
It's my nickname in high school.
That's a great nickname. Okay. So that's pretty much just it. And then I added a tiny bit of pink to this gold mixture, like over here.
Gold does go with everything, you know? It's just a good looking color.
It is. Okay. So there. And try and make your horizon line straight. It's hard to do. Does that look straight? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to get over it so I can see it. Okay, that's step one. Now we're gonna put in our water. So I'm going to use blue. Pick up some blue here. And remember, this is a very green blue. So don't get, there is a green and there is a blue in your palette. Grab the bluer one, but when you lay it down, it's gonna read a blue-green. Oh, it's such a good color. Look at it go. Okay, so I'm gonna put in my edge on the top of my line first for my water, like so. And then what I'm gonna start doing is do kind of dashes like waves and leave some white spaces, especially in the middle here where the sun is lined up, okay? And then I'm gonna use just water and start spreading the color across. Now you wanna make sure that the darkest value is in the back and that as you work your way forward, the value gets lighter. That's how we communicate space and depth in a landscape, is by doing a value change. If this was all one single value, it would seem more flat. So if you have to do a couple extra layers, no biggie.
I mean, make sure the watercolor police aren't around.
Yep.
You gotta do the extra layers when they're not there, or you'll get in trouble.
Okay. Okay, so that's all I'm really gonna do for right now, as I'm doing more. Sorry. I'm gonna do one more swatch. I'm gonna do one more layer.
You seem like you need tacos. You wanna have a Taco Friday with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Taco Friday. That sounds great.
Taco Tuesday Part 2.
That's all I want in life, is just tacos every day. Do you know who makes surprisingly good tacos? Well, you, obviously, but fast food tacos, Jim Boys.
Oh, Jim Boys, yeah.
Jim Boys tacos.
There's no Jim Boys out here.
They dip them in the Parmesan cheese. Yeah. They have the fried shell, the fried corn shells. Okay.
I like truck tacos, the little tiny street tacos. That's my jam.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. We live in Missouri.
We should start
We miss
one.
Mexican food. Okay. Now we're going to move on to step 3, which is our clouds. So I'm going to start putting in these purple clouds. So I'm rinsing my brush.
If your mic is rubbing or something. Sweet.
Is that better?
I think so.
So I'm picking up purple, and I'm going to start by putting in my clouds over here. Now they're going to be kind of curved, like so. And then after I put in the bottom, I'm going to use water just to spread out that color.
That color is so good.
Isn't that a pretty color?
Yes.
Now, clouds are so many different kinds of shapes, so don't get too hung up on the shape of your clouds. Let them be a little bit funky, because somewhere they exist in that capacity. And then what I like to do after I do my clouds is I'll do one more drop of this purple color at the bottom and kind of like get that a little bit messy here.
Y'all might not know this, but Sarah spent like a whole semester painting clouds.
I did.
She's the cloud expert.
Well, they still elude me sometimes. Clouds are tricky. Like,
I feel like you did glass or jars or something also. I just remember like periods of painting things.
I know. I can't remember.
The clouds was the biggest one for me.
The clouds, I did an entire semester on clouds. And I still, like, at the end of it, I still didn't feel like I mastered them. It was,
like, I still can't do these.
it was infuriating. Okay. So there's one cloud. I'm going to do another one kind of coming up over here. Now, one thing you got to pay attention to is your mind is automatically going to want to make patterns. Your brain likes to make patterns easily. And so you might notice that all your clouds, if you're not careful, are going to have the same rhythm to that. And by that, I mean they're going to be like this. You see how that has the same rhythm to it? So you got to like purposely do like, there's a big one, there's a small, here's another funky one. So like, let it get funky, okay?
The bottom one looks like a deformed bird with multiple wings.
This one? What are you talking about?
Yeah, that one.
This one?
No, up higher. Sorry, my camera's delayed, so I had to wait for your point to show up over here.
It's okay. Okay. Maybe they kind of overlap. You can get funky with this, okay? This is loose. This is just us having fun. I have another one kind of coming up this way.
How often would you say that you just like get so pigeonholed into messing up in your painting that you start over? Do you start over very often, or you do like just adapt?
I very rarely start over because I think that paintings, you need to give them a chance before you can make a decision on them. And most of the time, like, I never do a painting perfectly, but I've learned enough on how to adjust things if I mess something up. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like the other day, I actually was painting a peony, which is a hint for a future project. And I was like a third of the way through it, and I was really frustrated because it wasn't making a form yet. And at that point, I really wanted to throw it away. But then I thought, like, you haven't even started adding in your darker values yet, so you can't make a judgment on this painting. And so I just kept on going, and it turned out beautiful, and it was great. So like, that's a little lesson for you guys, which is like, you have to give your paintings a chance sometimes before you give up on them. So even though it gets frustrating, power through. Does that mean it's going to turn out perfectly at the end? No, but at least you gave it a chance before you gave up on it. You know what I mean?
That attitude boded well in my favor for our dating age. Like, I'm going to give him a chance.
All right, how about 3 more chances?
All right.
All right, 4.
I'm
doing another layer here. Another layer of cloud. They kind of run into each other. I am noticing that my clouds, like, patterns not only the edges but also the size. My clouds are all coming around the same size. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, okay, I got to be mindful of that and do like a thinner cloud or a shorter cloud, or like mess it up so it's not so all the same size. Okay, so there's the start of our clouds. Is my horizon line falling off on the left, or is that straight?
That's that 8 inches per mile. See, you did that on purpose.
You're right. You're right. Okay, now we are going to do the top of the sky. So the top of the sky is going to be blue, and then we'll fade it to like that pink gold. So I'm going to grab the blue and just start really light, start to put that in around my clouds. If my clouds are still wet and they start to blend together, that's okay. Because this
weird.
Is a loose painting.
Sorry.
What? Go ahead.
On other planets, the sky is not blue.
That is weird.
You know, when we eventually get to colonizing other places, you could just live on Pink Sky Planet, and the sunset might be blue.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, and then now I'm going to start introducing a little bit of pink in my sky and a little bit of gold, and I'm just going to start kind of filling in the white spaces.
If they had a base on Mars, and it was like, there was a Zara already, like there was a mall and everything, and they gave our family a free trip to live on Mars, would you go?
I don't know.
There's a Popeyes and a Zara. Wait, you love Zara, right?
What is Zara? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I like Zara.
There's an H&M.
No.
There's a Pottery Barn. I'm just striking out.
You are. It's
There's
okay.
a Popeyes chicken. That's all that matters.
Done. I'm there. That's all I need to know.
Oh, there's anthropology. There
we go. I knew you'd get there.
You didn't want to give me any
I
hints.
didn't want to get, I'm like, let's see how much he pays attention to when I shop.
I know.
Okay, so we kind of filled in the rest of our sky. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let that dry for a second, see kind of what comes out of it as it dries. We're going to move back to the water, and I'm going to do some water reflections. So when there is light on water, it has reflections, and when there's color in the sky, it's also reflected in the water. So this gold here that we have, that would be in the water as well. So I'm going to take my gold and just do some gold highlights in here. Now you want to be careful not to blend it too much, because then it will turn your seawater like a muddy green. So that's why I'm just doing like a little bit here and there, like so. And then I'm going to do some darker blues around here. And if you want to do like little hints of like the pink, you can, because that would also be reflected in the water. I really wish I can, sorry, I have to like get over my painting to see what's straight. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of height on this side.
Is that your Taco Tuesday belly?
Yep.
What should we name that baby? You guys leave comments in the description.
Yeah, help us name our child.
Help us name our male child.
Actually, he hopefully will be born by the time this comes out.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, I hope so. This comes out middle of March and
We
he's
might not
due
have a name.
February. We still might not have a name. Okay,
It's
so
called Azure Blue.
Azure. I'm like, hey,
That's not bad.
that's not bad. I'm gonna do one more little gold reflection right here. Okay. Okay. And now we can kind of mess with our sky if we feel like we need to. I would like to say that you are going to get different blooms. Blooms are these kind of hard edges right here. Do you see that in that painting?
Oh yeah.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I love blooms because I think for me it adds visual interest. It was accidental. They happen when there's uneven drying times. That's how blooms happen. Also, I would like to say that Canson, how this paper works, is it's easier to get blooms on Canson than other papers. So if you are anti-bloom watercolorists, then you should look into different types of paper because the Canson tends to bloom up.
They're called boo bloomers. They don't like blooming, they're booing it. Boo bloomers.
Is that the new phrase?
No Canson watercolor if you're a boo bloomer painter.
For those who are boo bloomers, anti-blooming, maybe look into a different paper. Personally, I love it. It's part of the reason why I love Canson and why I use it.
I think blooming is cool because it's unique to watercolor.
Yes.
You know?
Okay, and then what I'm going to do on my clouds is I'm going to mix a little bit of gold with this purple, because this gold that the sunrise is giving off would actually also kind of hit on my clouds a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of touch the edges with some of that coloring. And then if you want to make it seem like have little clouds in there that are kind of diffused out, re-wet the sky. Or if it's already wet, you don't have to re-wet it. And then you can drop in some like purple in there. This is the wet on wet technique. And just kind of let that blend out. And you'll just get some different cloud lines in there. So it's kind of fun to just play and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna do a little hint of a cloud right there.
You're such a courageous painter. I would be so afraid to just like drop color in places, you know?
It does take practice to be comfortable with letting things just happen, but I have learned that the only way to like really gain knowledge is just to like acknowledge that you're scared, but do it anyway. And you have to realize that the worst thing, the very absolute worst thing that's going to happen is you will throw this away. That's it. So when you break it down like that, where it's like, this is just a piece of paper, and the worst thing is that it's going to go in the trash and nobody will see it. Okay, well then I'm going to try this and I'm going to experiment with this. And then the other flip side of that is the best thing that can happen is you'll get these like wonderful happy accidents where you're like, that turned out so cool. I love how that happened. So it is scary just going for it, but for the most part it pays off, and that's really how you learn. I don't know if you want to do hints of gold.
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. And sometimes I really have to work myself up to it, especially if I'm like in love with a painting and I'm halfway through and I'm like, okay, I got to do this thing, and I'm afraid I'll ruin it. And it's totally normal to have a little self-talk and be like, it's just a piece of paper. It's going to be okay. Don't be scared. Okay, that's it for our painting.
It's beautiful.
Is it so crooked?
What are you talking about?
The horizon line, is it crooked or is it straight?
I mean, it's a little curved, but again, we
is
talked
it
about it's
low
on
on the
purpose.
left hand? Is that where it is? And on the right?
Yeah. See, earth curvature.
Okay, it's bothering me.
All your flat earth fans are upset now.
So I'm gonna, I think what is throwing me off too is that because I've done layers of water and paint, the paper has kind of started to warp. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
It doesn't look that bad on camera.
It doesn't? Should I just leave it?
I would leave it. I'm looking at the lines of the table here, where it hits on the table lines,
Uh-huh.
and it doesn't look that far off.
Okay, I'm just gonna try straighten it a little. Does that seem better?
There you go. There it is.
There it is? Okay. Okay,
Voila.
now we're gonna remove the tape. You
Any
gotta
tricks?
be, what?
Any tricks?
Yes. You don't want to do it too fast because you'll rip your paper. I do little sections at a time. I start with the edge that is closest to the painting and peel away, because that way if it does catch and tear, it won't peel into your painting, it will peel away from it. Oh, that was wet and I just smeared it. That's okay. So you just do it like that. But this painting is really light in value because of the nature of these metallic paints. But I think there's something really fun being able to like paint in like pastel-y tones. And it's more fun after you lift it up and you kind of move it and you see that shimmery.
I did not think it when you said in the beginning that the card is darker. It is much darker.
Yeah.
But I do like the light one a lot better, especially in person.
It's a huge difference. I know actually when I scanned the original painting in, and I was just like, man, I hope this doesn't turn people off from trying this project because it's not a true representation. But metallic paints,
It's impossible to scan.
you can't scan or photograph them to be accurate because they're all on how the light shifts while you're moving it. And a photograph or scanned is a still image, so it can't communicate that.
The scientific way to say that is due to the glitter.
Yes. So then now you can kind of see the shimmeriness
Ooh.
of it. Can they see that good?
I mean, kind of. It just gets really bright. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
reflective.
you guys will see it in your own paintings. It's so fun. So I hope that you guys had fun painting this. I hope you let yourself be a little bit loose and not super structured, and experimented and played, because that's how we learn and that's how we try things. I would love to see how yours turned out. Everybody's is going to look so different because there's no outline with this and the colors we mix and all that fun stuff. So if you're on Instagram, you can tag us in it at Let's Go Make Art. You can do hashtag Let's Make Art. If you're on Facebook, we have a wonderful Facebook community that's for the sole purpose of you guys sharing your art and having a community that you can ask questions to or see how other people are approaching the same projects. That is called Let's Make Art Watercolor. If you need any of these supplies, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. And Michael, thanks for joining me.
Anytime.
I love you.
Literally. Hey, well, this might work out.
This might
then.
work out. And that's all I got to say. So, bye.
Bye.